So, it's October, you know what that means, it's time for creepy crawlies, monsters, ghosts, and everything else that goes bump in the night. And this has gotten me thinking about Batman, as he's kind of always been associated with Halloween. I mean, he dresses as a giant bat to scare criminals, that is pretty in spirit with Halloween. Also, how many times have you dressed as Batman for Halloween? And one of the most famous Batman stories is called The Long Halloween, which is a good book, you should totally read it. Anyway, I wanted to dedicate this month to Batman-related content. As first, I wanted to review every live-action Batman movie, but I realized I don't have all the Batman films on DVD, and I was not prepared to watch 12 films in a month. So I chose to do something easier, a history of Batman on film. Now, I won't be able to cover everything, but I want to give a basic understanding of how the character changed over time. I will also not review things that have Batman or his supporting cast that are not just solely about Batman, so no Justice League or Joker. So without further ado, I give you a history of Batman in film. First, a little content text. Sometime in the mid-1930s, a teenager named Bob Kane was getting into the comic book industry. In 1936, he started freelancing original material to editor Jerry Egger's comic book, Wow, What a Magazine. The following year, Kane began to work at Egger's subsequent studio, Eisner and Iger, which was one of the first comic book packagers that produced comics on demand for publishing, entering the new medium during its late 1930s and 40s golden age. Among his work, there was the funny animal feature, Peter Pup, which was a comedic mystery series, kind of like Scooby-Doo, but of course predating it by like 30 years. It was published in the UK comic magazine Wags and reprinted in Fiction House Jumbo Comics. Kane also produced work through Eisner and Egger for two of the companies that would later merge to form DC Comics, including the humor feature Ginger Snap and More Fun Comics, Oscar the Gummos for Detective Comics, and Professor Doodle for Adventure Comics. The last title, he went on to do his first adventure strip, Rusty and Pals. But this was just the calm before the storm. The year was 1939. It had been 1 year since Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster created Superman and changed the comic book industry forever. It was the great success that led DC's editors, which at the time were called National Comics, to scramble to find the next big superhero to go with the Man of Steel, which led to Bob Kane, who by the way was only 18 at the time, to come up with a Dark Knight of his own. But Robert's first design of the Caped Crusader was more like a Flash Gordon than the Man of Tomorrow, with red spandex, black tights, boots, a domino mask, blonde hair, and bat wings. It was a far cry from the iconic look we became accustomed to. It wasn't until Bill, a good friend of Bob, redesigned the suit that we got the iconic look that we know now. In fact, a lot of the iconic things in the Batman mythos were created by Bill, not Bob, to the point where some say Bill Finger is the real creator of Batman, but that's something covered in the Hulu documentary Batman and Bill, which I recommend you go watch after this video, of course, if you want the full story. Anyway, to make a long story short, on May of 1939, Batman made his first appearance in the 27th issue of Detective Comics, and the rest, as they say, is history.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Tell me, how does a man dressed like a bat get all the attention?
With my incredible wall scaler, Joker won't be laughing for long.
How special!
And don't forget my crime attack batarang. Fire!
Isn't that swell?
Now let's really stop your smile. Iron Witch into action. You're finished, Joker.
I just wanted a little attention.
The Dark Knight collection, each sold separately. Batman, the legend lives on.
We now jump ahead 5 years to 1943. The Second World War is in full swing, and Batman is a hit with readers, with the introduction of Robin bringing in younger readers and the success of the Superman radio and animated shorts. DC was looking for other media to adapt their superheroes in, and with their rivals Fawcett Comics' The Adventures of Captain Marvel film serial, DC decided to adapt their heroes to film, and Batman was the perfect fit. He had no power, so it wouldn't be as expensive to make the special effects, and he was different enough from Superman to not be labeled a rip-off like The World's Mightiest Mortal has been, but the first thing is to find a studio. Who else but Columbia Pictures. Produced by Rudolph C. Fluffo, directed by Lampett Hiller, and starring Lewis Wilson as Batman and Douglas Croft as his sidekick Robin. The film is about Batman and Robin fighting an original villain, Dr. Daka, a Japanese spy who invented a device that turns people into pseudo-zombies. The film changed some things to the comics, like making the Cape Crusader and his young ward CIA agents instead of vigilantes due to regulations stating that heroes were not allowed to take the law into their own hands. And since this was during World War II, it unfortunately has some racist stereotypes of the Japanese. I mean, Batman even says a racial slur towards the villain, calling him a jab. And one of the villain's own henchmen betrays him and says that's the kind of answer that fits the color of your skin. The film even references the US government policy of Japanese-American internment to explain why the villain's hideout was an abandoned neighborhood, but besides the more bigoted aspects of the film, also had other problems, mostly due to the budget, and it was like most film serials, very low. To the point that they didn't even try to make the Batmobile. They just had Batman drive a black 1939 Cadillac Series 61 convertible. Several continuity errors occur, such as Batman losing his cape in a fight but wearing it again after the film only briefly cuts away because of the budget. But this did not stop DC from hyping up the release. In fact, press release announced Batman as a super serial, and it was Columbia's largest scale serial production to date. The studio gave it a publicity campaign equivalent to a feature film. It was first shown in theaters on July 16, 1943. Stedman notes that the serial gained good press notices, but scarcely deserves them, going on to describe it as an unintentional farce. And Heron and Gold described Batman as one of the most ludicrous serials ever made. Despite its forthright simplicity, it had also been criticized for Batman and Robin lacking grace needed to portray such characters, larger-than-life characters. Even though Lewis Wilson did look like Bruce Wayne and tried his best, he just didn't have the physique to be the Dark Knight, and his voice was too high-pitched for the Dark Avenger of the Night. The Batman was portrayed as in Golden Age and in recent years, but Lewis wasn't the only one the critics had a distaste for. His co-star Douglas was said to be too old to be playing Robin, as he was 16, playing a 12-year-old Dick Grayson. It was made much worse when his stunt double was on screen with his hairy legs. Criticism was also made at the costumes, mostly Batman's, which was based on the design seen in the comics, looked more like a cheap Halloween costume than a superhero outfit, and the cow looked more like devil horns than bat ears. And a lot of modern critics understandably don't approve of the racist stereotyping. Will Booker points out in Batman Unmasked, analyzing a cultural icon, that through the depiction of the Japanese characters is undoubtedly racist. Batman himself has little direct contact with them. However, when Batman does in fact finally meet Daka in the final chapter, he immediately explains a racial slur, a jab. He soon also calls Daka a Jap murderer and Jap devil, and finally discusses a Jap spy ring. Booker summaries that these elements are likely to have been added in afterthought in order to make the film more appealing to audiences of the time, and that making a nationalistic or patriotic film was not the filmmaker's original intent. Despite the controversial depiction of the Japanese, some versions heavily edited out the racist parts. The film was a big success, leading to a sequel in 1949 called The New Adventures of Batman and Robin, The Boy Wonder, or just Batman and Robin, with Robert Louis and Johnny Deacon as the dynamic duo, with Lee Talbot as Commissioner Gordon. Since the war was over by that point, there was a less propagandized plot of the masked manhunters fighting the Wizard, a hooded vigilante who has a striking resemblance to both Batman villain the Mad Monk and Hooded Justice of the Minutemen, the Golden Age superhero team, and Watchmen. Maybe he served as inspiration for both. Serials have been released on DVD, both separately and as a complete set called Gotham City Serials, and I'm pretty sure you can find them streaming somewhere. Anyway, these serials have a big legacy, with many elements from the first one being staples of the character. Now, like the Batcave or Alfred's similar appearance, it also, of course, led to the widely popular 66 TV show that truly made Batman a pop culture icon, which leads to a feature film we will cover next time. Stay tuned, viewer. For the next video, we are going to cover that financially campy romp through Gotham City known as Batman the Movie or Motion Picture to you film buffs. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Underneath the bridge, top has sprung a leak, and the animals I've trapped have all become my pets, and I'm living off of grass and the drippings from the ceiling. It's so